This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello Turkaholics and welcome back to Football on Turca. We have another exciting, controversial and crazy week of Turkish football for you in store. My name is Kaan Bayazit and I am joined this week by Jakub Marufolu celebrating Trabzonspor's victory, obviously. Özer Dincer, who is also, I am surely, delighted with Galatasaray's current form. And of course, man of the law, Burak Sezgin, who I am sure will have plenty to say today. Guys, welcome to the show. And how did you experience this past week? Burak, let's start with you.
It's been an absolutely wonderful week. I've got no idea what you're talking about. I didn't think there was any football this weekend, so I don't know why we're doing this podcast today. Are we going to talk about like our favourite foods and something else? I'm really excited to describe how you make and marinate a good chicken shish, seeing as we're entering barbecue season. So, yeah.
You're a little early with that, aren't you?
Hey, you know, Turks, right?
It's never too early for barbecue season.
No,
365
we can talk about the Super Bowl
days.
halftime show if you like, guys.
Yeah. I it's actually the only thing of the Super Bowl I watched. I really liked it.
Fantastic double peach choreography was exquisitely executed. So the years of practice have paid off to entertain the millions watching on television. So
the only thing that Besiktas fans probably thought when they were watching that show, that halftime show, was, "Ooh, that pitch is going to look rough in the morning." You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I enjoyed that halftime show for the Super Bowl, and not for the reasons you may think. In fact, I actually said something along the lines of probably when I was a teenager, the only thing I would have been looking at would be the asses and the legs, the sexist, male chauvinistic pig in me. But honestly, as I don't know what it is, if it's my age or I don't know, but the only thing I could watch while watching it, I was just absolutely awestruck by how human beings are able to get a choreography like that in their heads and be in the right place at the right time every single moment, nothing going wrong under so much pressure, millions of people watching around the world, and just to perform to such perfection. I mean, every day I walk through the house and I stub my toes, and these people, they just do everything perfect. It's crazy. I was absolutely awestruck. And of course, Shakira and even J-Lo, they still look great for 43 and 50 years, respectively.
Professionals, consummate professionals. That's what dancing every day does to you. You burn a load of calories and you work all the right muscle groups. So that's why, as of today, I'm taking up full-time dance.
Okay.
Well, you're speaking from experience, of course, aren't you? Didn't you had a dance off recently? Did very well.
Yeah, yes. I won 2 trophies, which we won't mention that. I'm sure the listeners are fed up of hearing about my exploits.
Well, are you going to be shaking your ass for us one day?
If we collect enough money for charity, I will.
Okay, that's good.
Definitely. I'll do a live belly dance. So
looking forward to that with some chicken shish on the side.
Exactly. But, enough about us. How's Jakub doing? My friend, my brother, my ashkum. How are you, my darling?
I'm fine. Are you okay? Did you stub your toe? Did you bump your head to something or something? Are you okay? It feels so different. It feels so different from before. Are you is this your evil twin that's actually nice?
He's saving everything for later. Yeah, I was going to say, this is Burak with a goatee, but he always has a goatee. So
Yeah, he rips off the goatee to show another goatee.
This is the goateeless version. No.
No, I had a good week. Busy work. Nice game. Nice weekend. Nice week. Nice week for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, lots of things happened this week. No cup football, no European football. The only thing we have to talk about is Super League football. Of course, there was deadline day, stuff like that. But I think what we're going to do is I'm going to see if I can find some time with Umut later this week to record maybe half an hour or something on the transfer window or transfer window recap, so a bonus episode this week, hopefully on the transfer window, so we can delve straight into match day 20 of the Turkish Super League, if that's okay with you, gentlemen.
Let's go.
Okay, now we're gonna start off on Friday with Burak as Basaksehir took on Gençlerbirliği.
They did indeed. Now, you would think that coming into this match, it was going to be possibly tough for Başak. You know, even though they're playing at home, Gençler have been scoring quite freely since the managerial change that happened for them. But they've also been very, very leaky at the back. So we know that the game ended with a 3-1 victory for Basaksehir, and starts off, Başak get the early goal after 8 minutes. Some good work by Junior, and that man ends up Crivelli. It's been a little bit quiet lately. Pops up with a nice goal, but about 20 minutes after that, Gençlerbirliği putting on some pressure, and then you got Mr. Floyd Aite, brings it to 1-1 after some good work by Daniel Candeas. And what happened next is you've got Başak playing some good football, creating a few chances, playing well under Okan Buruk. And then almost the forgotten man of the team, because he's been a lot quieter this season than he was last season. Edin Visca pops up on the 48 minutes to make it 2-1, and then again on 73 to make it 3-1. So, and that his second goal was actually assisted by Mr. Crivelli, who helped out with an assist. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, looking at the game as a whole, I was thinking that Basaksehir might be a little bit challenged by Gençler here because of the fact that Gençler play attacking football. So I was thinking, okay, let's see how it's going to be there. And to be honest, it could have been a lot more for Başak. They wasted a few good chances. So before Crivelli made it 1-0, I think it was Demba Ba that put a good chance wide of the post. And following on from that, it was a comfortable day at the office for Basaksehir. They didn't look too troubled. They didn't seem to, go into that fourth or fifth gear. So they kind of just tamed against that quite well. I think they just managed to expose the defensive frailties that Gençler have been suffering from, which they were, to be honest, before Tamer Tuna came back to take over. But the thing that Tamer Tuna changed is he got that Gençler actually scoring goals as well. So I'm not sure if his tactic is trying to outscore the opposition, but it might work against maybe some of the other lower teams in the league, such as let's say your Denizlispor's, Malatyas, and then teams right at the bottom like Antalya's, Kayseri's, Ankaragücü's. But you come up against a team like Başak, they're always going to create chances, and they've got quality to be able to put those chances away. We'll see if one of the other games we had tonight, I think it was the 0-0 between Konya and Antalya. Plenty of chances in that game, which were just screaming out for someone to finish it. But we'll get onto that one in a minute. But I think Başak just showed their class, and they've showed everyone that they're going to be, right up there again. I think towards the end of the season, and probably you have to include them in the title race now with about another 6 teams, because I think it's only 5 points that separates the first from the 6th, and that is just 2 victories and a couple of drop points for other teams. So it's really building up to be an exciting second half of the season, and Başak definitely there to be included in the conversation. The only thing that worries me.
Oh no, go on.
So the only thing that might hinder them is if they get some injuries to some of their key players like a Corelli or a Visca. I think that's one they might struggle to create and finish. But they don't have the strongest squad. But the people that would be coming in potentially couldn't do as good a job. But that's the only thing that might hinder their progress in maybe pushing on towards like a top 2 finish.
I think you mixed up Hamza Hamzaoğlu with Tamak Tuna, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Hamza's back against that.
Hamza against that has promoted the attacking style, yes. So, apologies.
I do seem to recall there was a penalty position at 2-1, I think, for against Eberle. There was something fishy going on in the Basaksehir penalty area. But very nice. I really liked the assist from both Dembaba, who assisted to 2-1. Of course, Edin Visca still had a little bit of work cut out for him there, and he really finished it very calmly. But the Enzo Crivelli assist especially was very nice.
That third goal to make it 3-1 was a thing of real footballing beauty. Mm-hmm. Everybody should definitely watch that. Edin Visca and Enzo Crivelli combining from their own half and basically 1-2ing through the defence with a series of like pinpoint passes to make it 3-1. It was a really, really beautifully worked goal.
Yep. And I think it also kind of showcases that there isn't a knockout blow yet at this stage in the league. Basaksehir coming off that loss against Fenerbahçe last week, but as Burak said, everything is still so close at the top, especially with results this weekend. I mean, nothing really changed all that much except for maybe the chances for some teams increased. Yeah, I mean, they showed good kind of mental strength to bounce back from the loss against Fener. Having gone so long without losing, and then to lose like that in a game that they didn't play too badly, it might have held back other teams. I mean, we saw what happened to Sivas. It kind of capitulated at the weekend. Mm-hmm. Basaksehir at least kind of have that mental strength, and they're kind of all very much focused now on trying to win the league. Okan Buruk made it quite clear in a statement after the game 2 weeks ago, saying that he really wants this. He really wants this title, and they played some really, really classy football. Even though it was 3-1, it could have finished 5 or 6. Dembaba had 2 or 3 pretty good chances that he missed. To be fair, Gençler really weren't too bad. Basaksehir were just in a different class. Gençler, of course, still without Stanku, and were also without Giovanni Sio this week as well. They put on, they did their thing. They scored a decent goal to make it 1-1, but Basaksehir just playing football at a different level of consistency and quality. And I also just noticed that I totally caught Burak off guard by... I didn't assign him this match. Yeah. I just noticed that. So good job, Burak. Despite the fact that you were...
I had watched this one quite recently as well, so I had something in the bank there. So I thought I'm just going to roll with it,
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Saturday then, as Antalyaspor Konyaspor is the next match. In this one, I did assign to Burak, and as Burak already alluded to, a 0-0 draw, but plenty of chances in this one.
Oh, so many chances in this one. I think the goalkeepers had... the thing is, the goalkeepers didn't have that great a game. They made saves that you would kind of expect them to make. There were no real, oh my God, that is such a good save from the goalkeeper. It was just them doing their jobs. It was just a tale of really bad finishing from both teams. They're both guilty of wasting some chances. I think one of the best ones you had was early on in the first half for Konya. I think it was... who's there? Is it Milosevic? Or I know it's their number 2 because I remember looking at his shirt number. He
Skubic, maybe, or is he 6?
I actually can't. Number 2 for Konya. Yeah.
Selim I, maybe.
No, it's Fındıklı.
Oh, Volkan. Okay.
Volkan, and what happened is he was standing in the middle of the penalty area. A ball gets crossed into him, and he just has lots of time and space to actually compose himself, get the ball plush on his forehead. But he just puts it completely wide of the goalkeeper. And I think that was the story of the game for both teams. They got into decent positions. They created some good chances. But when it came to the killer blow, they just weren't able to pull the trigger. And that happened backwards and forwards for the whole game. So I think a draw is probably a fair result based on that, just because there wasn't one team that were completely dominating the other team with regards to possession, chance creation, shots on target, shots, and general play on the ball. I mean, it was a interesting enough game to watch, but if you were just a fan of football watching this, you would instantly notice that, I don't know, if they had someone who could actually, have a bit of quality to put the ball in the back of the net, they would have won it. Surprising that Antalya kept Podolski on the bench. I'm not sure what his fitness is looking like. We know he came in the other week. He's been training with the squad, so I was surprised they didn't give him a 5-10 minute run out, because someone like Podolski, if he gets one of the chances that fell to any other of these players, he'd probably finish it with that left foot of his, even with, I think, a header, because he's just got that quality to be able to guide the ball. So whether it was a lack of match fitness, whether it was just a lack of fitness altogether, I was surprised he didn't make an appearance in the last few minutes to try and get that goal for Antalyaspor. So, I mean, Aykut, Sal, his team, they did play quite defensive at times, and they tried to push forwards. They had their striker back this week, their winger Milicevic, who caused a few problems. Was quite disappointed in Faruk Mir, because he started the season with a lot of promise. We saw him scoring good goals, good power, young, athletic, strong, energetic, but he just seems to have fallen off the radar a little bit since the end of the first half of the season. So that's a bit of a shame. So I don't know if that's because he's been sucked into some kind of formation that doesn't really suit his style of play, unfortunately. But we had to see anything from him this season to live up to the praise that we were putting on him in the first half of the season. And for the rest of the game, like I say, it was not the worst game to watch, but it was just a little bit of, why can't someone put the ball in the back of the net? I think the best chance, again, fell to Konya, and it was from a corner, but what Sivas did is they put a man on the post, and the header came in. I can't remember who it was from, but goalkeeper completely was nowhere near it, was scrambling across, but the man on the post for Antalya managed to declare it. And that was the clearest goal chance that happened in the whole match. So on the basis of how it went, probably a fair result. If you force me at gunpoint to say who do you think deserved to win more, I'd probably say Konya, because they had the more clear-cut chances that they weren't able to put away. And that is that for that match. 0-0. Nothing to see here, boys.
And of course, Antalyaspor are still in a precarious position at the bottom of the table. So it's kind of curious that they didn't just give Podolski a couple of minutes. So he really mustn't have been match fit, I think, because I think they had a decent transfer window. So they would probably expect to stay up. But the quicker you can get out of that bottom three, the better, because the longer you put that off, the more pressure you're going to get under, and it may affect them. Robert Mak, a new transfer for Konyaspor, he did make his debut here. He came from Zenit St. Petersburg, of course. Anything that you noticed from him? Did you have a good impression, or did he not really make much of an impression on you?
He just didn't have much time to do anything that made me think, oh my God, what a great acquisition by Konya. I mean, he was fairly inoffensive in what he did, but I'm not sure if he's just trying to get used to the Aykut Kocaman style of football, or just being in Turkey and the culture and his teammates. But I think the next 2-3 weeks and the next matches are going to be a real test for him, and that's when we'll be able to see if he is going to be a good addition to the Konya squad. That is going to help them stay up, because they are just 3 points above the Kasımpaşa, who are 16th, who are the last team in that relegation zone. So it is
They did actually climb out of the bottom trio, right? They kind of spazzed out there. It's interesting that they finally... I always kind of feel like, except for that maybe Samuel Eto'o, Konyaspor really don't make big signings. And on one hand, you kind of have to commend that. But on the other hand, sometimes you think like they have a decent squad of relatively young and unknown Balkan players. And that's what Aykut Kocaman likes. But sometimes I've had the feeling over the past couple of years that they just need one or two quality players to come into that side. And I'm very curious to see if Robert Mack might be that type of player. I know he's been linked with a couple of the bigger clubs in Turkey in the past couple of years. Besiktas, Trabzonspor, I believe. I mean, he does come from Zenit. He's a Slovakia international, so I'm going to keep an eye on him. Very curious to see how he performs in Turkey.
Definitely. It'll be good to see if he can get the service, because I'm not sure if you can actually drive the ball up to him.
Yeah. I think he's a left wing attacker, so maybe he can drive it up himself, but we'll have to wait and see indeed. Let's move on to the next one then. Sergen Yalçin making his coaching debut for Besiktas away at Rizespor. Of course, Sergen was welcomed to the job by 21,000 fans in the stadium midweek at Vodafone Park. 21,000 Besiktas fans turned out for his signing ceremony. So he started at least with a big confidence boost. And was it effective on the team? Judging on the first half, I would say I definitely saw Sergen's hand in the first half. Besiktas played at times really good combination football relative to the football they were playing under Abdullah Avcı. I found they found themselves taking the lead in the 29th minute, and then a little bit later, completely against the run of play, a little bit of a misunderstanding at the back for Besiktas. Victor Ruiz clumsily heads it through on a Morozio cross. Vida and Karius kind of looking at each other. Who is going to come for this ball? Meanwhile, Rizespor's new star signing Milan Škoda pops up in between and heads it home 1-1 at halftime. Besiktas should have probably done better there. They had 2 or 3 really good scoring opportunities from open play, which I was surprised by, because that's something that I've been bothered with in recent months, that Besiktas are relying way too much on set pieces and are not creating enough from open play. I think apart from the Gençlerbirliği match where they were obviously up against 9 men, it's been, all the other goals they've been scoring in the league have been indirect or directly from set pieces in recent games. So it's good to see that Besiktas found their footing again here. Not a lot of crossing either. I found that under Abdullah Avcı, Besiktas had reverted back a little bit to the crossing and inshallah type of football they were playing even under Şenol Güneş, where they were relying way too much on Ricardo Quaresma's crosses. I felt like they were doing the same thing in recent months, but then with Caner Erkin's crosses. So I was very happy to see that Caner, from what I recall, didn't have a single cross in the first half. I think he might have had a couple indirectly following a corner from a short corner or something like that. But apart from that, Besiktas were really looking to play over the ground and combine. The first goal was a good example of that. A really nicely crafted goal with Laic passing it into Atiba, who squared it for Burak, who may have had a good finish there. In the first half, like I said, Rizespor kind of scoring against the run of play, but there was a little bit of a misunderstanding as well with Caner heading the ball back. Didn't head it far back enough. Milan Škoda popped up in between there too, but then put it in the side netting. So if you're looking purely at the summary, at the highlights of this match, you'll probably think that the first half was pretty equally balanced. But if you actually watch the game, I really do feel that Besiktas were by far the better side. But the absolute opposite thing is true in the second half. Rizespor came out of the gate firing on all cylinders. They did really well to put Besiktas under pressure, and they managed to get quite a few really good goal-scoring opportunities. I think the best one fell to Umar Aminu, who put it wide 1-on-1 with Karius. Really good goal-scoring opportunity, and they had a couple of more. They really should have been 2-1 up, but as they say in Turkey, if you don't score, then you will concede, and that's just an unwritten rule in football in general. And in the 79th minute, Adam Laic did really well to kind of wrestle himself in between the central defenders and then square it to Gökhan Gönül on the right-hand side in the box, and he fired it home. I believe it's his second goal of the season. Besiktas taking the lead in the 79th minute. A little bit of pumping the ball into the box in the final 10 or so minutes by Çaykur Rizespor did not result in a goal. There was one big chance, I believe, right at the end, but Karius initially saved and Victor Ruiz cleared it. And Besiktas get a very hard-fought away win at Rizespor. A very good start to his job for Sergen Yalçin, but Besiktas still have plenty to work on. Guys, I think I told quite a lot already about this game, but anything that stood out to you guys about this match, about Rizespor, about Besiktas?
Just Loris Karius just having a really bad game. Decision making
Again.
Handling.
Yeah. And it's weird because he had such a good first half of the season, and he had this blunder in a friendly match in January somewhere. He had a really bad howler, and it really seems like ever since, like the entire calendar year so far, 2020 has been a nightmare for Loris Karius. I'm not recognizing the Loris Karius from the first half of the season who really at times was playing tremendous, but now he's I don't know what's wrong with him.
I think it's just mentality. Like you said, the blunder he made in the friendly, even though it was a friendly, probably has made him doubt himself and his abilities, and it's not been helped. I'm guessing he's probably reading and listening to all the comments that are being made about him, which is probably one of, not the best thing you can do, but the best players and players who have a really good, strong mental strength and mental toughness can kind of just block that out. So I don't know if he just needs a little bit of help with that. Maybe he just needs to be, I don't know, dropped for a couple of games or a game.
I think that's only going to make it worse for those types of characters. I mean, that's the thing, with a guy like Muslera, with a guy like Fabri, they make mistakes too. But as soon as they make a mistake, they get back up and they get back on the horse, and they don't let it affect them. But with a Tolga, with a Karius, you see that if they make a mistake, it just has lingering effects. And I think the equalizer from Rizespor is a textbook example of that, just where I think if Karius is confident, he's just going to come and he's just going to pounce that ball away without a problem. And now he's looking at Vida, and Vida is kind of looking at him like, are you coming? And in the meantime, of course, a very good Milan Škoda, he was very lively, pops up in between and does really well. I mean, I believe he has 3 goals in 3 games now for Çaykur Rizespor, so a really good get for them. Obviously a guy with a good career, and he's proving that so far. Özür, did you want to add something as well about Loris Karius or anything else?
No, not about Karius. I guess you guys have covered it, but I actually tuned into this game in the second half, and I thought Rizespor had a couple of decent chances to score, and it was almost against the run of play when Besiktas took the lead, and I thought
it was completely
pretty lucky.
Yeah,
pretty lucky that you guys ended up with 3 points. But as Sergen said himself after the game, his first game of charge, you just need the 3 points. You can work on the football later on. So for him, he really, really, really needed that good start to his Besiktas career, and he got it. So hopefully he can build on that and make Besiktas play some more intricate football going forward.
Yeah, and he also said the football in the first half was good, and I totally agree with that. It was some of the best football I've seen Besiktas play in a long time. Despite the fact, like I said, if you're looking at the highlights, you probably think that it was quite even, but first half, Besiktas I really liked it, the football they were trying to play, and it's kind of like, that equalizer fell in the 36th minute, and I guess it just kind of shook him, and Besiktas, the team, they're mentally feeble. They're prone. There's a lot of work Sergen will have to do there to get those players confident again, because it's like I said before, okay, it's not the best squad in the league, but they shouldn't be in 7th position either. This is a team that should always be fighting for top 3, and they're just not playing to their potential, I believe. And yeah, I think a little bit of confidence goes a long way in football. So that's the main job for Sergen now. Very tough game next week, I think, against Gaziantep, but it is against in Vodafone Park. So, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And, of course, the potential of a replay against Göztepe could put them back in the race for European tickets. But, of course, they would have to win that, and we'll have to wait and see what the TFF's decision is on that. So, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this episode, because, of course, this episode will largely be revolving around this one match. Trabzonspor Fenerbahçe, the top match of match day 20. Who am I going to start with? Shall I start with Jakub and let Burak have his say afterwards?
Yeah, we've not heard from Jakub yet this episode, so let's let the great man go first.
All right, let's have your thoughts on the match, Jakub.
Well. It's finally my turn. Nah. Okay. As you guys know, I was a little bit late for this game.
I thought you had written a monologue that started like that or something.
I thought about it, but I don't want to give Burak ideas for the next time.
I just hear a Burak monologue, to be fair, like a really well prepared one, Jimmy Kimmel style, you know.
So I was too late for this game. My train had an issue, so it went a little bit late.
Don't you have a phone?
I know, but I was maybe 3 minutes away from my home when the game started.
Oh, okay.
And I immediately saw on my phone that we conceded. I was like, did I see this right? You know, was this okay? So I run into the house, get the keys, tell my dad I have to go. So I drive to the place where friends of mine are sitting, and so we start to watch the match. I watched the game. I watched the goal on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that the collective defense had just had a brain fart. You know, it was a little bit lucky for Fener that the ball wasn't cleared well by Hussein, who I already said before the game started in the group app that he was the weakest link of the defense. But unfortunate to concede at home. Otherwise, the game was really fun for the first half an hour. It was, what we expect from Trabzonspor. They attacked a lot. It was unbelievable to see how well every player seems to be, played into each other. They have started to, be one with each other, and they the midfield with Ndiaye. It's unbelievable how good Ndiaye has slotted into the midfield, having only played 2 or 3 matches. But it was funny. It was funny because we had this big issue last week with the game being postponed, with Wakayeme getting a red card and his red card switching from the Malatyaspor game to this game, and then you have Wakayeme not playing, so you have Ekuban on the left, and then you score both goals in the game. You score with attacks starting from the left. I had a hearty chuckle for that one, but it was a good game. I really liked how Fener played. Fener has really has a good team, but I don't know. It still feels like they missed that one certain player to bring the team forward. Normally that is Muriki's thing, but I thought he was pretty awful in this game. He got the ball a lot. He made a lot of attacking actions. He was always trying to get behind the defense. But his last shots were always either just over the bar or just not on point. And he's a player that I do like to watch. He's pretty dangerous. He's always a threat, and I thought that this game he was a little bit less of a threat. But
I think I disagree with that.
Okay.
If you look at the first goal Fenerbahce scores, he creates the space for Kruse. He's pulling away the defenders there to allow Kruse to slip in there and put it home. I think he did really well on that one-on-one opportunity. He just has the bad luck that he's up against probably the best goalkeeper in the league right now, one-on-one with Urcan. I think he did he did what he had to do there, and Uğurcan just did really well closing down his angle, did everything perfectly, and that's not the first time in this match. It was the first time, and it wouldn't be the last time. So I felt that Vedat was good enough, but I kind of had that feeling in every derby so far with Vedat. Like, he does his job, but he isn't. He's no Mario Gomez. He's not a striker that's going to put his mark on every single derby, kind of like another striker is doing right now. But he is still, by far, I think, the second best striker in the league right now.
I mean, I get it. As I said, I like his attacking runs a lot. I focused for a lot of the game. I just focused on him. But as a striker, you want a striker to score in big matches. You don't want a striker, with all respect to teams like Çaykur Rizespor or Malatyaspor. You don't want
he does
that.
I
know, but this was a big match because of all the issue that was created by Ali Koç and the Malatyaspor president, and everything that was going around. This game. This was the game that he was supposed to be the one to, shut the crowd up. And I don't know. I didn't. He was a little bit subpar for me. Kruse, on the other hand, is such an unbelievable player. It's so fun to watch him, even though he scored against us. It's so unbelievable how good he is pretty much everywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, he finally has some confidence, and you can really see that the last couple of months he has.
You can just see that he's like a class above everyone. As for the King of the North, the first goal was such an unbelievable goal. Great pass by Ekuban. Sørloth showing once again that he's the complete package. He's like the Mr. Perfect of the footballing world. He's like, all the good things in the world just combined into one person. He controls the ball with his right foot.
Do you mean that he'll never win the world title, or?
It will happen. It will happen. I believe. You have to believe in it. As I said, he controlled the ball with his right foot, scored it with his left. Sosa, on the other hand, was also one of the. He was really good. You can see that he's pretty much the source of calmness in the team. He doesn't panic really quickly, and I thought that it was good to see him perform a little bit better than normal. In derby matches, you always need a captain to make the difference, to keep the players focused on the on what you're going to do, on the results. And it's unfortunate because I thought that Fenerbahçe was the better team. They dominated the second half. Trabzonspor was better in the first half, like in the first 35-40 minutes. But this game was just barred with controversy because of the referee Ali Palabıyık. You and I had a chat about who the referee was going to be, and we both were like, "Oh, not Ali Palabıyık. He's not the best referee that there is." And he just proved it this game. He had like numerous decisions that were bad decisions for Trabzonspor, bad decisions for Fenerbahçe. It's unbelievable that Serdar Aziz finished this game without a yellow card. It's just, you have to be blind not to see any of the positions.
But that we have to kind of say, though, that happens almost every match. Like, I don't understand how I jokingly said on Twitter midweek when I was having a discussion about Vida with our good friend Ivan, who listens to the show. Hi, Ivan. I was jokingly saying that Serdar Aziz would probably average a minimum of 3 yellow cards per game. And I only kind of said it jokingly because it's not the first time this season where I kind of feel like, okay, he should have had yellow there, should have had yellow there, should have had yellow there. And he ends the match with no yellow card. And I'm not even going to talk about the whole head-to-head headbutt situation. That's obviously a red card. But there's moments within this game where I think there's a moment where he just stonewalls Sørloth in the middle of the pitch, and it's not a case of, well, he couldn't go anywhere. No, he makes himself broad. He really, does it on purpose, and that's the type of stuff where I'm like, okay, how is that not a yellow card, ref? But I think even Burak will agree with this, because I think he's even said it himself that he gets away with quite a lot. I don't understand how Serdar has suddenly become that player. I don't recall him being that before.
I mean, I spoke with a couple Galatasaray fans, and they were like, it seemed when he was playing with us that the moment he breathed, he had this breath on a player that he got a yellow card. I don't know. I haven't watched him at Galatasaray, to be honest, so I don't know how real that is or how true that is. But it was
look on this.
It was so infuriating because, as you said, he had that shoulder into Sørloth's head. He had the headbutt, which was unbelievable. How VAR didn't say anything.
VAR couldn't say anything because Ali Palabuyuk deliberately ended the match.
That was hilarious. That he came to that side and he just.
Yeah, do you remember in the beginning of the season Besiktas Basaksehir where Douglas brings down, I want to say, Crivelli right before halftime, and the ref just blows for halftime, so VAR can't, say, hey, red card. It is. I don't understand how something like that can happen. Shouldn't that result in like a serious penalization of the ref? I mean, stuff like that that is unacceptable.
I mean, it could have changed the game. Like, with
of course you're 2-1 up.
You're
still 45
up,
minutes to go, and they're a man down. That's a completely different match.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate Fenerbahçe, by the way. They have
fought
back in the past with 10 men, so it's not a win by any. But obviously that's something like I don't understand how something like that can just get swept under the rug. And I mean, in any other country, this would get called to the referee commission, and he would get a post-match suspension.
Yeah,
I hope that's gonna happen because I don't think something like that is that's one of the most blatant red cards in recent years that hasn't been given. Do you remember that flying torpedo tackle by Skrtel last year or the year before? I think it together with that one, it's like the most blatant red card that hasn't been given in the last couple of years, I would dare say. But
I mean, it's unbelievable. He did a couple of things. He even kicked Sørloth in the head. Also nothing.
A very high boot. That's at least dangerous play.
It happened next to the referee on the line. It happened next to him, and he just didn't see it. And as I said, it's unfortunate that the controversy of the referee made an impact on this game. You have to. You would love to talk about the football that was being played, but a lot of people from both sides have been discussing about the referee and how bad he was. You had the infamous you had the position for Vedat, where Trabzonspor fans have been saying that the ball hit his arm. I'm going to be honest, I'm not too sure if it actually hit his arm.
Yeah, it's not very clear in the replay. I felt. It looks like it, but
you have the situation before our second goal, where the ball hits. It's a corner kick, and Sørloth tries to head it. The ball hits his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
It goes out. It should have been a goal kick, but a corner was given, which led to our goal.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wrong decision. In my opinion, the decision that he gave with Cruz's foul on Uğurcan, that was a correct decision. I know that a lot of Fener fans are they first were complaining about how it wasn't there wasn't any contact. Then they are complaining about how it wasn't a foul. But as you and I said, you can see that Cruz does touch Uğurcan, and this leads to his upper body twisting in a weird way, which leads to him dropping the ball. You can argue about if it was a foul or not. In my opinion, it was a foul because it's he was in the area. He had no choice. He couldn't contort his body to catch the ball. You have a position in the second half where Ndiaye had a phantom foul on Luis Gustavo. He doesn't do anything to him. It really felt like Gustavo just heard the ground tremble from Ndiaye's massive legs behind him, and just scared and just dropped to the ground. And the referee went okay, I guess I'll call a foul.
Did that led to a goal, didn't it?
That led to a goal. It could have been 3-1 at that point. So it's awful that this game is just it was a nice game to watch from a neutral point neutral point. I have to say, as a Trabzonspor fan, my heart was beating like the last couple of minutes. I like unbelievably hard, but that's just normal with a Galatasaray with a Fenerbahçe game. A little bit of points to the players that were playing. As I said, Gustavo was really good. Sturridge, just I don't know. I didn't really like him. I'll blame it on the lack of match fitness. He got dispossessed a lot. He misplaced passes a lot.
Scored though.
Yeah, he scored. It was offside though. Yusuf Sarı tried. I didn't really like him. Guilherme played the second half. I did quite like him. It was nice to see that he was, pretty much ready to go. Trabzonspor did a good thing, trying to limit the amount of time that Gary got the ball on his feet, forcing Fenerbahçe to play from the other side. It was unbelievable to see how bad Tolga Ciğerci as a player is, in my opinion. He doesn't fit into the Fenerbahçe midfield, in my opinion. I would rather play Ferdi if I could. He seems to be a really good player.
I think he also was the one that puts in the cross for that late, where Uğurcan gets fouled, yes or no. But I think that's from a ball that Ferdi pumps into the box.
Yeah. So the game ended 2-1, but the shitstorm started after it. You had the issue that is now making the news. Everyone, I've even seen that it has been featured in some British tabloids.
Let's talk about that in a minute. Let's have Burak have his view on the match, and then we can speak about the fallout.
Okay.
Burak, give your perspective, please.
Well, I'd literally just kind of sat down to watch the match, and we scored. So the act of sitting down then jumping up became one smooth movement. And then I thought, shit, it's like
there's still 89 minutes in this game.
There's still 89 minutes, and just scoring early, it rarely works out because it kind of puts the pressure on you as the team that have gone in front to, what do you do? Because you've come into the game with a game plan that the manager set out for you, and all of a sudden it's been turned on its head, both for Fenerbahçe and for Trabzon. Trabzon maybe not as much, because they probably maybe thought, we're still the home team, we still got the game plan, let's go about doing what we're supposed to be doing, attacking, getting the ball to Serloff, using the pace on the wings, and it ended up being a really good game of football. Like Jakub said, that was just marred by just horrendous refereeing through everything. I think the equaliser for Trabzon was really good play by Ekuban to Serloff, who took his goal brilliantly, and he continued to cause trouble all game. I don't know what central defender could possibly contain him in the Super League when he's playing like this. I don't know, maybe someone like Vida, who could maybe be quite aggressive with him.
In a couple of weeks.
Indeed, obviously we couldn't contain him as much as we wanted to. I think it was bad defending on our part for the first goal to let Serloff get into that space, but once he got the ball, then he made no mistake finishing it. Then Trabzon's second goal, as Jakub said, it came off Serloff's shoulder, so it should have been a goal kick to us. And what happens then? They don't score the goal, and then maybe you don't get the situation with Serdar Aziz and the head-to-head situation,
smells like an excuse, Burak.
No, it's absolutely true, because the game and the temperature of the game completely changes, because it was Serdar Aziz that went up for the header with Serloff, which was wrongly awarded. But we're talking, in ifs, buts, and maybe
Serdar was already doing his thing before that. I think the block on Serloff, which was I really didn't like that. That was something that happened before the second goal. I mean, Serda's always going to play his game and do his thing. And it was, of course, with Joao Pereira. We have to point that out. And Joao Pereira is a fantastic, theater artist. But I think here,
it was expert shithousery by Pereira. I think we've said it before. He's one of those players like when he's in your team, you love him, and when you play against him, you absolutely hate his guts. But I think we played very good football.
You did.
We just could not put the ball in the back of the net, and that's a credit to Uğurcan for being very good. I mean, the stops from Vedat and Max Kruse were expert stops, and when it came to a Tolga Ciğerci, I mean, I'm going to stick up a bit for Tolga. I think he's a good, decent, performer.
He's in a
midfield.
thankless role given his attributes set.
He's a lump that you need, and he's got very good fitness, and he's strong. And for all his faults, he does do a decent enough job, and he has scored some goals for us this season as well. So I don't think he is, going to set the world on fire. But when you need someone to put a shift in and just run and be a bit of a nuisance, maybe get your foot on the ball, maybe slow down the play, pass it sideways, he's a guy that's in there. But the chance he had to score when the ball came to him, and I was watching this on my screen thinking, okay, come on, Tolga, what you got to do? And he tries to chip or dink the ball over Uğurcan from about 5 yards. I'm like, no, man, just either put your foot through it or side foot it. So obviously huge, error there in our finishing. Talking points, wow. How long have you got? The Vedat handball position when the ball came in. Now, I've watched this full speed, slowed down. I think I've only got the angles that have been provided to us by the beIN Sports app. And I've watched it slow down, and I still can't make out if he's handballed it or not. Just because, and if it has, then the ball hasn't changed trajectory. It's just skimmed off the top of his forearm, if anything. But that should have gone to VAR, and it didn't go to VAR. And the referee should have looked at it on the screen because of the position he dives out and his hands out, so he's made his body bigger. So that should definitely be. But
it's possible that VAR looked at it and have a different angle and saw that no, it didn't make contact. But then I think it's very essential that they show that angle on the broadcast so people know at home, or at least show like a little VAR thing where they looked at it or something.
Yeah, because you're watching it on TV, so like you said, the VAR may have actually looked at it and just gone straight to Ali Palabeyikzir to say, we've had a look, Ali, we don't think it's anything you need to worry about. So, but as fans, watching it on the TV in the stadium, you don't know that. What do we have next? We have the handball by, is it Kapi or Capri?
Campi, I think.
Campi. So this comes just after Uğurcan makes that wonderful save from Max Kruse, and the ball comes out to Gustavo, who dinks inside with his left foot, and he goes to shoot with his right foot, and the defender just jumps in front of the ball, turns his back to it, as defenders will do, but his arm is out, and the ball hits his arm, and it goes out for a corner. But the ball's hit his arm, and it's...
This is in the second half, right?
Yep. Yeah, this is in the second half.
I think he's pulling his arm away, though, isn't he? Is he trying to?
It hits his knee. It hits his upper leg. Because I saw the position. I also thought that one is a little bit suspect. But you can see that none of the Fener players are even going for a penalty. None of them shout. None of them put their hands up. It really hits his upper leg.
No, for me that comes off his arm, or again, it deserves to be looked at least by VAR to say, there have been penalties given for handballs that have been less obvious than that. So for me, that's an error, and that should be at least investigated and looked at. Because for me, looking at the angles of it, that looks like it's come off his hand. So we've got that decision there. Again, bit of a refereeing nightmare. But still, Fener playing well up until, I think it gets until like the 70th or 68th minute, and Trabzon are just fully camped out in their half. Also, I should add that if Serloff scores the goal where it hit the bar in the first half, I think that would have been good night. So again, he just jumped jumped the defence and put the, unfortunately, he couldn't put the ball away, and he just had a really good game being a nuisance. But no, we still kept control of the ball, trying to create chances. Like you say, Kruse has just been in really good form lately. He's getting on the ball well, driving it forward, just showing his class with his touching, his passing, his shooting, just being able to be in the right place at the right time. Maybe it's the hair job. Maybe it's the fact he's dropped a little bit of weight and he can run a little bit faster, be more aerodynamic. The Ndiaye foul on Gustavo, for me, he's gone into the back of him from behind, and that's more likely to be given as a foul than if it was a physical duel running shoulder to shoulder and you just outmuscled someone. Contentious as well. Some referees may not have given that. They may just have thought he just come in from behind and showed his strength. To me, that was a foul. But also, Jakob thinks differently. But to me, the position with Max Kruse on Uğurcan is not a foul. And we've seen it from different angles. And you can see that as Max is jumping up, Uğurcan jumps up at the same time. There is some contact. But I don't think it's contact enough to warrant a foul. For me,
I think you can also see though, you could say, okay, you know what, he catches the ball and he fumbles it, and that's why he acts like he's fouled. But you can see that he's actually already making a weird movement before he even catches the ball. So, yeah,
he's twisting his torso, and
he makes a really weird little, flinch. It's weird. He's going up for the ball, really full of authority, and then suddenly he's like, oh. I can't. We should have video.
Yeah. So for me, that's not a foul. That's just an error by the goalkeeper, and that should be 2-2.
Malatya.
Consistency.
That was much less a foul than this.
Totally different position in the game.
That's true. Altay catch and dropped it like a dummy, and then went down acting like he got hit. And here, he's already. It's different. You're right.
And then, it just didn't work out for us, and I think we controlled the majority of the game. The goals that Trabzon got were from, I think, they played well. The first goal was, bad defending, which Trabzon took full advantage of, and the second goal should never have happened because it came from a corner that was not a corner in the first place. But you've got to look at the game as a whole and think it was probably one of the toughest away games we're going to have all season, if not the toughest. Just based on the energy around the game, it's just such a bad, negative energy surrounding the game. It just, and you're going into a really hostile atmosphere. And the team held up well. They didn't lose their heads too much, as in they were able to play their football. It didn't look like they didn't let the occasion affect their football, but it let it affect their heads from time to time, which we saw with obviously Serdar Aziz and his actions there. Gustavo again is sent off at the end for having a go at the referee.
Do you think he did that on purpose to, because he was on a yellow card suspension, it's the 7th minute of stoppage time or something? Maybe he's thinking, I'm just going to say something to the ref quickly so I get a second yellow and then I only miss the cup game.
I don't know. If it was any other game, I would have said potentially, but because it's a Trabzon game and it's right at the end, and it's just been shithousery for pretty much the whole game. I think he just lost it, and so. But he'll miss the game against Kırklareli midweek. Be back for Alanya, which is going to be another really tough game for us. And then you have the only other thing that happened that's been shown on TV is Mikel supposedly kicking Emre when he's on the ground, which then leads to what we're going to talk about now. I think.
Just quickly, I want to get your thoughts. What did you think on the Serdar position? Where the headbutt situation, do you understand that the referee just ignored that?
I don't know how he's not given him a card there. I mean, looking at the EFAB rules, that looks like it's violent conduct to me. It's not a headbutt as such because their foreheads are together, but he leans into Pereira.
He clearly makes a movement.
Yeah, you can see it's clear. Their heads start together, but the movement is made by Serdar Aziz to move forward, and he's lost his cool.
He does more there than Tosic and Van Persie, if you ask me, because Tosic and Van Persie were standing head to head, and Van Persie then just dropped, acting like he got hit. Which Tosic doesn't do that forward movement, I think.
Yeah, so I think because.
For the record, I think the Tosic one was red. Just for the record.
So I don't know what's going through the referee's head there. And even if you do finish the game right away, so you can't go to VAR, it's happened, in front of you. You've seen it with your eyes, and you should at the very least, be cautioning Serdar Aziz there. But if you're looking at the rule book by EFAB, which tells us the laws of the game, and as we know, I'm a man of the law. Direct red cards, violent conduct, serious foul play,
striking or attempting to strike an opponent, between brackets, headbutting also.
Yeah, there was no biting because he's not Luis Suarez, and there's no spitting because he's not Mbaye Jagner. But it was violent contact, and you can put it under serious foul play. Probably not serious foul play, but definitely violent conduct. I mean, serious foul play, I think, would be like one of those studs up challenges, feet off the ground challenges. But
or a really big headbutt, like a bam, like a proper one right at the bridge of the nose, Do you guys remember any moment, because that's something that really has bothered me throughout the years, where I feel like they never give red cards post-match. Like, they never give suspensions out post-match. Like, they've done it on certain occasions where, like remember the Raúl Meireles controversy where he supposedly made like a sexual gesture, and that they'll punish. But when like a very egregious tackle or something goes unpunished, they never go afterwards and still punish that. Whereas in Belgium, for example, if you do something that should result in a red card, but it gets missed by the referee, afterwards you can still get punished for that. And if like it's a serious offense, like you said, violent conduct or something like that, that will result in a ban. And I just can't remember any moments of that in Turkish football, and I just can't fathom why that is.
I don't know. It happens in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
A retrospective red card or a retrospective rescinding, taking away.
Yeah, that's also something that should happen in Turkey from time to time.
Yeah, but it's just not. It's not. Maybe they'll start with Serdar Aziz. Who knows? Let's wait and see. We're going to get a new president of the Turkish Football Federation soon.
Well, so. if his name was Caner Erkin and playing for Besiktas, then I'm sure he would get a 6-match ban. But Anyway, let's move on to that whole racism thing that happened. Of course, like as Brock pointed out, there's something going around that Obi Mikel may have kicked Emre Belözoğlu, and apparently some Fenerbahce fans have taken it upon themselves to... Well, I'm not even going to call them Fenerbahce fans. I'm just going to call them racist pigs. They don't deserve to be... associated with any of the clubs in Turkey, in my opinion. Just idiots took it upon themselves to start sending Obi Mikel some abuse with... what did they write? Like, very good English. What was it? You want to banana or something? Something stupid like that.
Something really stupid.
I mean, I'm surprised
like
they can string
yeah.
3 words together,
It's just embarrassing, and they need to be found and banned from football, from attending football matches, because you can boo someone when they're playing or whistle them because they're a supposed bad guy. They're not. They're just someone playing against you in a football match. But to DM them abuse is unacceptable. But to DM them racist abuse is just completely unacceptable, and they just need to be found and they need to be banned.
Yeah. I mean, abuse is one thing, but racist abuse, that kind of just it shines a bad light on the Turkish football fan culture in general, because I think that's one of the things that Turkish fans have that, like, we don't have the stuff that happens in Spain and that happens in Italy, where they make these disgusting monkey noises in the stadiums and stuff like that, and that's something that almost never ever happens in Turkey, like racist kind of stuff like that towards black players or anything. I recall, I think, one incident where there was a guy showing a banana to a player or something, which I think yeah, which the entire country kind of responded to in absolute disgust, and I'm liking at least the reactions we're seeing right now. I hope that Ali Koç will make a statement on this. I don't know if he has already. I think he should. That he should make a statement on this, that it's absolutely unacceptable, and that those fans will be banned for life.
I mean, I think I'm not going to put the sole blame on Ali Koç. But I remember just when he was elected president of Fenerbahce, he talked about how he wanted to break the ice between Fenerbahce and Trabzonspor. Just start.
They've done that.
I know. So it was a good change from all the shithousery that went down with Aziz Yildirim for 20 years. So I was quite, I'm not going to say that I was happy, but I was like, okay, maybe it will be a little bit less awful.
Mm-hmm.
But you have, last year they weren't, the best team. This year they are a lot better, and you can see, as we have talked like numerously, they are playing against, the TFF. They are, pretty much every 2 weeks or so they are talking about the decision that was made, putting pressure on the TFF. And with this whole thing about the game against Malatyaspor that was delayed and all this stuff, it just put a lot of extra fire, between the two teams.
Yeah,
so
oil on the fire.
Yeah. So even before the game started, there was like a whole thing on Twitter. It's to be expected. I'm used to the ha ha ha Hamsi jokes every time. I'm not getting mad because of that. But it quickly turns into something awful when either side loses. You can never have two sides that are both happy with a certain result.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it just exploded after the game. And Ali Koç came to the stadium. As I said, a lot of Trabzonspor fans have been angry with him for the last couple of weeks. He got booed. I'm personally fine with that. If Aoğlu goes to Fenerbahce, goes to the
getting booed, that's okay. As long as there's no shooting the bus and there's no throwing bricks and stuff.
I'm not okay with that. With stuff as that. So just boo guys. You can call players. You can call players dickheads, but you shouldn't bring bring the color of the skin into the topic. You shouldn't say something with a racial undertone. And as you said, racism in Turkey, it happens, but I haven't seen like racism towards a certain player in a long time. You talked
it's
about
extremely rare.
Yeah, you talked about the fan with the banana. I remember that was against Drogba. It's in a Fener game. And before that, you had the infamous Emre Belözoğlu, Didier Zokora thing. But since then, I haven't really heard about anything. So, it's I know that maybe using Twitter or Reddit as like the source of certain things isn't the smartest decision, because you have a lot of people just venting their issues there, as I do also. But I'm as I said, I'm open for just you can call me a dickhead, you can hate certain players that we have, you can hate Trabzonspor, but keep it in a certain way. You can't convince me to love Fenerbahçe. I can't convince Fenerbahçeliler to love Trabzonspor. I don't want them to, but keep it just keep it normal. It's weird to see the amount of anger that just opens up every time a big game like this happens, and you have people just imagining stuff, saying like, yeah, there was a Trabzonspor fan pointing a gun to the Fenerbahçe bus. Trabzon Valili, the municipality had to put out a statement that it was actually a phone, and they even had the video that the guy recorded.
Yeah, you also had these rumors of Emre saying something racist to Obi Mikkel and stuff like that. And to me, to me that's kind of like, look, if Mikkel comes out and says that, then I'll believe it. But if it's just people on Twitter, then it's just people just going into the past and trying to feed off of that and creating something out of nothing. But that's why I also think that, look, I think if Ali Koç comes out now and makes a strong assertive statement and just completely distancing the club Fenerbahçe from these people, I think that's just something that would reflect really well on Ali Koç and on Fenerbahçe. I mean, I think what he does before the match, okay, maybe it's a little bit in poor taste with the whole Malatya thing, but it's understandable. It's mind games. It's part of football. But I think this is where you have to draw the line, and Ali Koç could score some really good points, I think, if he makes a firm statement here. What do you think, Burak?
I hope he does, because we have a strong, loyal fan base that support the team really well. You can see they showed up at the airport on Saturday night when the team landed, just to welcome, just give them a bit of a morale boost. But you can't, tolerate any kind of racism, whether it's from your own fans or other fans. It's just wrong. It has no place in society, let alone football. So I do hope that we release a statement, and bu taraftarları kınıyoruz, and we don't want to associate with them. I will add, as Ali Koç was entering the stadium, you had, Trabzon fans running up to him. One fan in particular ran up to him at the barricade, and I would say, where's the security there? He was supposed to be going in via they call it the protocol girişi, which is supposed to be guarded, but you had someone who was just able to run up freely.
Did he do anything?
He just shouts abuse at him, but
yeah, he could have had a knife.
He could have had something on him. He could have jumped the barricade and tried to punch him. So it's a case of, well, come on, guys, provide us with a little bit of security. And then you've got, like you say, after the game, the car full of Trabzon fans driving alongside the bus and shouting, and they're probably
that's part of it.
I mean, they're probably just having a go, but the fact that they're driving alongside the bus on busy road, who knows? They may have been drink driving. They're just fueled by rage and just wanting to.
That kind of stuff happens everywhere in Turkey, though. I mean, I remember Göztepe, the Göztepe fans attacked the Besiktas bus too. I mean, it's not new in Turkey. Yeah?
But this bus is moving. This bus is traveling at speed along like a main road. I don't know if it's a motorway or not, but just things like that. I mean, it would be nice to try and end this hostility. But in the current climate of Turkish football and what's happening, I don't see that happening.
I think mind games are just too big of a part of Turkish football, and especially of certain clubs. I mean, I think, Fener just do that a lot. They play a lot of mind games. That's part of what they do. That's all, as long as I can remember.
I mean, we did all right last season with Besiktas when we had the Fikret Orman and Ali Koç came together. I mean, that was at least a step in the right direction. But the fact that Ali Koç is now just, it looks like he's just gone fuck it.
But I understand it because he's desperate for a title. The club needs that desperately. They need that money. They need that type of stuff to turn things around. I completely understand it. I mean, if I as a Besiktas fan, if I was in the position of Trabzonspor, I would be annoyed too. But I get why he's doing it. But I think when Fenerbahçe are putting out statements left and right constantly, they can't stay quiet on this. If they don't make a statement on this, a firm stance, then that's going to look very bad, in my opinion, if they just stay quiet.
I mean, we've had to make statements this season for good reason. So I fully am behind the statements that Ali Koç makes from his standpoint and from our club standpoint. But I just think it's got to such a point where someone like Ali Koç he's tried to change things, he's trying to change the structure, but you can see it's just broken. So he's just had to turn around and literally put his arms up and go, fuck it, I'm just doing things my way and looking after my own and my club. And it's just adds to the chaos that is Turkish football. We had Mustafa Cengiz with his press conference today. We had the resignation of Nihat Özdemir as president of the Turkish Football Federation.
That's been denied by the
It isn't official.
Yeah. It's been
well, that you got that kind of, it's being whipped up into a frenzy, and it's just the pot is overboiling. It's going all down the sides, all over the cooker. It's going onto the kitchen floor, and we're stepping in it with our bare feet, getting angry and pushing each other around.
Yeah. For sure, the controversy and the crazy word of Turkish football. But I'm gonna have to cut it short there, guys. We've been going long on this match. I quickly want to get Özer's thoughts, and then I want to move on to the next matches, because otherwise I think Özer's gonna run out of time.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, so I mean, you guys have talked enough about the game. I really enjoyed it, I must say. Jakub mentioned before that from a neutral's point of view, it would have been a really exciting game, and I had my popcorn there, sitting pretty, watching the fights, the fiascos, the goals, the drama. I thought the atmosphere in the stadium was really, really impressive. The best I've ever seen from Trabzon since they moved to their new stadium. And also, actually, after the game, some of the scenes in Trabzon were just quite something else, really. Normally, I don't like things like that. Normally, I disapprove, because it's just a game after all. There's no trophy or anything being handed over. So I normally look down on that kind of thing. But in this case, I think Trabzon fans weren't doing it in so much as because they won a game, but it was more to tease Fenerbahçe, just to kind of take the piss and to rub it in even more, which I thought was really funny, and I did enjoy that.
Don't you think it's really... I think it was just because they won the game too, though, because I think a lot of pressure was on this because Fener have struggled to Trabzonspor have really struggled to get a win against Fenerbahçe in years.
Yeah, there was definitely an outburst, but still there was I don't know. I think there was an extra level to it, which I sort of appreciated and therefore somewhat didn't dislike as much as I do normally when things like that happen.
Yeah. Anyway, you can join the conversation too. Just tweet at Footy a la Turca with your thoughts on this big Trabzonspor Fenerbahçe quote-unquote derby. I hate calling it that since it's nowhere near what a derby. It's not in the same city. Come on, people. Anyway, let's move on to Sunday. Ankaragücü took on Kasımpaşa. This was a very important match with major relegation implications, and Özer is going to take it away.
Hello, yes, Ankaragücü Kasımpaşa. So this was actually a pretty fantastic game. Despite the 1-1 scoreline, it was had quite a lot of action. Kasımpaşa actually took the lead. I think it was Thian who scored a pretty classy header in the first half, within the first 10 minutes. Then he was denied again a few minutes later from VAR for having an offside decision go against him. But Ankara-Gücü played some really, really nice football and then won a penalty, which was quite interesting because initially the referee didn't award the penalty, and then Orgel sort of took after the ball was the gameplay was stopped. Orgel took the ball and sat on the penalty spot and just crossed his arms and refused to move. So he was kind of doing a silent protest, which is something I've never seen before. And then the ref ended up going to VAR to check the position again. Meanwhile, Orgel still sat there with his arms folded, sort of demanding that the referee checked again and gave the penalty. So he wasn't going to move until the penalty was given. And sure enough, the ref, after consulting with his assistants, gave the penalty, which then Jason Rodriguez scored. It was very well deserved because Ankara-Gücü played some really nice football, created quite a few chances. And the goal scorer Rodriguez, I think he's 24-year-old or something like that, on loan from Dynamo Kiev, and he was one of the 15 signings that Ankara-Gücü made in a single day.
I thought
in the last
13.
few days of
Was it 15?
I think it went up to 15. During the day, they added two more players to the squad. They now have a squad of 35 players, and
Crazy.
Including Orkun Çınar from Besiktas. They signed.
Yes,
Attila Turan, the still only 27-year-old left back wonder kid that we all had such high hopes for when he was playing for Sporting Lisbon.
he's had a decent career.
He has. He's still I think he was kept twice for the Turkish national team as well.
Anadolu journeyman. I think
Yeah,
we can
one
call
of those. Yeah, with a bit of Lisbon sprinkled on top as well.
Yeah.
Also, they signed a guy Stelios something from Park Salonika. So they've made some heavy changes to their roster, and of course it's MRA Mustafa Rashid Akçay, the man for the job. He's really got his work cut out if he wants Ankara to stay up with Ankara-Gücü. But like I said, they're playing some nice football. There's another player, Lobelise, who hit the post twice for Ankara-Gücü. He looks pretty good. This really was a game that they had to win, however, in order to have a bit of breathing room. Both teams, of course, fighting relegation, but Ankara-Gücü, with a decent coach and some tricky players, I do think that if they carry on playing like they played against Kasımpaşa, then they might have a chance to stay up, and I really, really hope that they do.
Yeah, and there's a couple of teams that are just above that relegation zone that aren't really looking too good right now. So, but they need to start winning, and this was a very important match. They should have won. I mean, for both sides, this was a very important match. Of course, both sides are in the relegation zone, so a 1-1 doesn't really help them much. But some hope maybe.
Some hope. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the league leader. Sivasspor was away at Gaziantep Football Club, and Sivasspor suffered their first defeat in 2020, and well, actually, they also had a loss in the cup, but first league loss in 2020, and a first league loss since, I believe, their 3-2 defeat at the hands of Galatasaray, which is, I believe, like 5 months ago already or something. So Sivasspor have been on an extremely good roll. They started off 2020 in style with a 1-2 away win against Besiktas. Last week they were held to a 1-1 draw at home against Çaykur Rizespor, of course. And here they suffered a loss, and a big one at that. 5-1 for Gaziantep Football Club, and Alexandru Maxim stole the show. The new transfer for Gaziantep, I believe he is also on loan from, I want to say Dynamo Kiev, but it might be Shakhtar. I'm not 100% sure there, so I'll have to make sure we point that out in our little bonus episode that will focus on the transfers. He opened the scoring after just 4 minutes for Gaziantep, but Hakan Arslan equalized with a really good penetrating run into the box. He made it 1-1 in the 31st minute. Muhammed Demir then made it 2-1. I think initially that went to Alexandru Maxim, but the final ruling was Muhammed Demir. And then in the 44th minute, Alexandru Maxim scored his official second goal to make it 3-1 just before halftime. In the second half, Sivasspor tried to get back into it, pushed forward, tried to push for that second goal, but it was a little bit against the run of play that Suleiman Diarra put the 4-1 against the back of the net after Samassa had initially saved a shot from, again, Maxim, I want to say, but it might have been Coyote. I'm not 100% sure there. So 4-1 after 78 minutes, and then Kenan Özer in the 86th minute put the nail in Sivasspor's coffin to make it 5-1. Sivasspor dropping 5 precious points in the last 2 weeks. That means Galatasaray, who were in action later, had the opportunity to close their gap to 5 points, and they started off the second half of the season with a 10-point deficit. And of course, Trabzonspor still a match in hand. If they win that match against Malatyaspor, they will be on level points with Sivasspor, and with Basaksehir's win, they're just within 2 points now, striking distance of Sivasspor. And Fenerbahçe, yes, they lost, but they're also still only I think 3 points behind. I believe they're on 38, if I'm not mistaken. So Sivasspor really doing a bad job here, and yeah, they went into the second half of the season with so much good hope, but yeah, things are starting to crumble right now. Özer, do you think this is just a minor setback and they will get back on the horse, or do you think this is the beginning of the end?
I don't know. 5-1 is a major setback in psychological terms. That's the thing. So for having such a sledgehammer blow for the league leaders, it's going to be difficult for them to recover. And I do think it's a big crack and a sign of things to come. And I'm saying this as I put my fingers together and look gleefully at my microphone.
Burak, what do you think? Is this contrary to Fenerbahçe, I think, who had, yes, they have a setback 2-1 away at Trabzon, but they played good football. I think for them, they will rebound from that. I don't expect them to suffer a major mental blow from that. But what do you think for Sivasspor? Back-to-back losses of points. This is a big loss, a big mental blow, as Özer points out. Do you think they will recover from this?
I think they're going to find it very hard to recover from this, like Özer pointed out. And, their next game is at home to Basaksehir. Let's not forget that. So that's going to be a corker of probably the game of the week. Next match day weekend. So the pressure is really on, because Basaksehir win that game, they go top of the league. So it's going to be really tough. I think next week is going to be a really good indicator of whether Sivas have got the mettle to withstand it. And don't forget, after Basaksehir, Sivas are away at Trabzonspor as well. So I think this next 2 games are going to be a real telltale sign of whether Sivas are going to stick around at the top, or whether they've had their time in the sun and then they're going to slowly drop down the table. If they can pick up 3-4 points from the next 2 games, then maybe I say they would have got their confidence back. But for me, it's the beginning of the downfall for Sivas, especially losing in such a emphatic manner away to Gaziantepspor, or whatever they're called nowadays.
Yeah, you can call them Gaziantep.
Yeah,
that's fine. Somebody asked us on Twitter, by the way, what the history is on Gaziantep Football Club, because he was interested in particular about Alexandro Maxim, and Alexandro Maxim, I think he came from France. Somebody look that up quickly. Anyway, the history of Gaziantep Football Club. Basically, for about 2 decades, we had a club called Gaziantepspor who were in the Super League. They were doing really well. Late 90s, early 2000s, finishing consistently in the top 5. But they kind of had some dodgy people running the club that, how should I put it? They pocketed a lot of money. I think they took a lot of money from transfer fees and stuff like that. The club started to financially suffer. Eventually, basically went to the brink of bankruptcy. They're now in the 3rd division or something. But Gaziantep is a big city in Turkey, so there was a second club called Büyükşehir Belediye Gaziantep, which was renamed to Gazişehir. They were, as Gaziantepspor, were dropping down the leagues, going to the Super League, to the 2nd division, to the 3rd division. Gazişehir was making the opposite run and was moving up. They took on the same club colors. I believe they had different colors initially, and now basically they have just taken the place of Gaziantepspor, and yeah, they're almost the same club, and it's not something abnormal for Turkish football. This has happened in the past. We've seen this happen with, for example, Kayserispor. One season there were both Kayseri Erciyesspor and Kayserispor were both in the Super League, and Kayserispor actually relegated. And what did they do? They just traded places with Kayseri Erciyesspor. We have Erzurumspor is a big example of that. The original Erzurumspor went bankrupt, so Büyükşehir Belediye Erzurumspor kind of took their place, and there's other examples of that. So that's a quick little recap of the history of Gazişehir. So they have a really young history. This club has actually no big history, but Gaziantepspor, the original club, have very good runs in the UEFA Cup, very good runs in the league in general, top 5. I believe they finished third a couple of times. So yeah, Gaziantep, the region at least, has a good history in football, but Gazişehir, Gaziantep Football Club, as they were renamed earlier this season, are a quite young club with little to no history. Anyway, let's move on to the next match. Alanyaspor, Malatyaspor. Malatyaspor have kind of been on the slippery slope, dropping points in recent games. They haven't. I think they have like one win in 9 or in 10 matches now. They sacked, of course, Sergen Yalçin a couple of weeks ago, but that doesn't seem to have paid off. I believe they got a win last week, if I'm not mistaken, but they go back to their losing ways here as they lose to Alanyaspor. Jakub, can you tell us a little bit more on how Malatyaspor continue to slip?
So I watched a little bit of the game. I have to be honest, I don't have a lot to say. What was pretty evident is that Alanyaspor was really the dominant side. Malatyaspor tried their best for the first half a couple times, but you could see that Alanyaspor just was the better team, and playing at home, playing with the home crowd, it just worked a lot in their favor. The goals came in pretty quick succession. The first goal was in the end of the first half, and the second goal was like immediately after the second half for Alanyaspor. So even if you were Malatyaspor, you could have said like, okay, Kemal Özdeş, tell the players, okay, maybe we conceded late in the first half. Don't think too much about it. The second half we will be much better, and then you just immediately concede again. It just takes all the wind out of your sails. I have to say it was a weird game for Malatyaspor. I think that Malatyaspor has players that could be good, but are just all in just horrible situations. You have a Gökhan Töre who, you can see like sometimes you can see the spark that was with him when he was at Besiktas, but like generally, I don't know, he dropped off really bad.
Yeah, he's had a real big drop off. I agree. He's still, like you say, sometimes a glimpse, but
it unfortunately for him, it just stays at like a glimpse.
Mm-hmm. I think he deliberately just signed a 1-year contract with Malatyaspor, hoping that after that he could make a move to a bigger club again. But as it's going right now, I can't see that happening unless one of the big clubs wants to take a little bit of a gamble on him as a squad depth player. But
I see him going the same way as Volkan Şen, to be honest. Once really talented, and then just fucked his career up and just keeps dropping. Well, as for the goal, the first goal was by Bakasetas, an unbelievable. I really liked this goal. It was a great cross by Papi Cisse, and it was a really nice header. I love a good I love a good header. I love a good header.
You love a good head, huh?
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about this the other day. We were comparing Vedat Muric, Sørloth, and Papi Cisse to each other, and I think both Vedat and Sørloth have a fair share of assists. They have 4 and 5 assists respectively, and Cisse I think had like 1 or none, and then here he goes and picks out an assist because he's mainly been more like that guy in the 16 that fox in the box, whereas both Vedat and Sørloth do more for a team.
I mean, to be honest, this is his first assist in the competition this year.
Ah, there you go. Yeah,
So, you know,
very good one.
you can see that Cisse is also a really good player. He's up there with in his age. He's like Aruna Kone. He seems to get better and
Yes,
better.
34, I think.
Yeah, he's 34. But as I said, the goal fell late in the first half, so you have players that are kind of um, depressed after the first half, hoping that they can turn the game around. And like in the second half, um, Alanyaspor gets a penalty, which, in my opinion, I don't know. I'm not a man of the law. The ball bounces off the hip of Hadebe, and it really, I don't know if it should have been a penalty. I don't.
If it's the hip and then the arm, it should not, I think, because
So
that's
because
body too.
it either it did hit his body. It was either his hip or the side of his the side of his body, and then it hit his arm, and the ref didn't go to VAR or anything. He just immediately went with a penalty. So that was a kind of weird position for me. I didn't know if that should have been a penalty, because if that wasn't the penalty, Malatyaspor probably could have come back a little bit. You could see that they were missing Guilherme a lot. The midfield wasn't the best.
And Yahovic, they
And,
lost.
and Jovic, of course. Umut Bulut had an awful game. He's a player that I will always have a good a place in my heart for. He's 36 and he's still playing. He's obviously not the man he was at Galatasaray, at Trabzonspor, but still, it was just it was just an unfortunate game for Malatyaspor. Um, but the goal that they had, it was such a nice goal. Bifuma controlled the ball with his back. What Ronaldo did, what Wesley Sneijder did against Kayserispor, I think. It was just unbelievable. He controlled the ball on his back. He got it. He got it in front of him. Gave the ball to Gökhan Töre, who gave a great assist. So I think as if you are a Malatyaspor fan, I guess you could be at least happy that you scored a pretty nice goal. But all in all, not that great of a result. But it was pretty clear that Alanyaspor was the team that was just going to win this game.
Yeah, and Fabrice Nsakala got sent off in the 60th minute with a direct red card following last man fall on TV Bifuma.
Yeah.
That means he will miss the cup game, but he should be able to play against Fenerbahce on the weekend because, yes, it is a direct red card, but it's not a direct red card for violent conduct or reckless challenge or anything, and those tend to only... last man red card is usually only a one-match suspension, so he should be eligible to play against Fenerbahce. Let's move on to the Galatasaray Kayserispor match. Galatasaray have come out of the winter break firing on all cylinders. No Radamel Falcao due to a hamstring injury. No Marcelo Saracchi either due to a hamstring injury. Uzer, how did it go for Galatasaray without big man Radamel Falcao?
Everybody loves dog food fighting. You can tell I'm in a good mood because that was a brilliant performance against a pretty poor team, you got to say, I guess. But Jim Bomb, as you say, firing in all cylinders since January's kicked off, since 2020 kicked off. And I guess I got to start with Ryan Donk though, because this guy is full of surprises. Is he a defender? Is he a defensive midfielder? Is he a central midfielder? Or is he a striker? Because we've seen him pop up and score key goals in the past, particularly last season, this last-minute header against Antalya, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And at the weekend, he just popped up from a brilliant pass from Ömer Bayram, man of the moment, to Ryan Donk, who controls it delicately on his chest and then does some extraordinary acrobatic flip, like some kung fu style kick, and it just goes straight into the corner of the goal, and it's just absolutely sublime piece of technique. Everybody should see that goal. You don't see those very often.
It was phenomenal. Yeah.
It was pretty phenomenal, and I think he even surprised himself. Definitely surprised Terim and the guys on the touchline. If you saw Terim's reaction, sort of waving his hand to say, "What the fuck just happened?" It was a pretty awesome goal. Ömer Bayram, highlight this guy again because we mentioned it last week and the week before and the week before and seemingly every single week where Galatasaray win. It's thanks to no small part from Ömer Bayram. 2 assists in this game. He's now got 8 overall in the season to add to his goal from a few weeks ago. He's just a key player in every position. In the game against Kayseri, his first assist came from the left, from the right. Second one from the left. He's all over the place, and I still don't think he's getting the respect and the credit that he deserves from Galatasaray fans. So many people saying this guy isn't the quality for Galatasaray, barely even a bench player. Forget the statistics, forget this, forget that. As soon as Onyekuru comes back, this guy's going to be benched. Blah blah blah. So much shit talk. And
do you think it's just a little bit of a poshness?
Oh yeah,
Galatasaray fans are used
to
signing big names, superstar
definitely.
players. This guy is 28, comes from Akhisar, hasn't played in a big club in his career.
Agreed. I think there's definitely a huge amount of snobbery with this, with Ömer Bayram. And don't get me wrong, like I'm guilty of my own snobbery in the past as well. But credit where credit is due. Ömer Bayram has earned every bit of respect that he gets, and he's going to continue to be a key player, irrespective of all the new guys that have come in, Onyekuru and Jesse and etc. So, keep up because we'll be useful for the national team as well. Whether or not he'll be a starter is something else, but he should definitely be taken to the Euros.
In this form, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy as well on a similar kind of path is Adem Büyük, because he's also scored key goals, most memorably against Kayseri in the first fixture of the season, that 96th minute winner, which was also a bit
98?
98, right. Well, that was absolutely class. And Adem Büyük said at the end of last game, after Falcao came off injured by scoring, he said, "No Falcao, no problem." And today, against Kayseri, he popped up again, scored again, did his job, and was 10 out of 10 and a standing ovation from me. Feghouli as well. Now, Fegouli's been sort of hot and cold this season. But he did try really hard this game, and I could see that he was getting much more involved in the gameplay even in the first half, and then scored 2 great goals. And now, finally, when you look at Galatasaray's wings, you see Feghouli on the right, finally being productive, scoring goals. You see Onyekuru's instant impact, came on as a substitute, gave the assist. So now we've got this fast-paced wing. When Sarachi comes back on the left, him and Onyekuru could team up to be some real lightning speed on the left wing. That's really exciting to watch, especially when you compare to what we had before with that handbrake Ryan Babel, who was killing attacks, doing the same, dribbling on the corner of the box, so switching to his right foot, the same tried and failed thing that we've seen enough. So
I don't understand why he functions so well with Besiktas. And
I know. It's strange. It's one of those
because it's
things.
the same player. I mean, he did the exact same thing for us, but for us it worked for some reason.
That's true. So it's funny that it's funny. I mean, the other player, 2 players I want to mention are Linus and Seri, because Linus got a lot of respect from the fans after the way he kind of carried himself after his contract was frozen, and now he's been getting some playing time as a kind of reward for that. He needs a little time to get match fit, so I don't doubt that he's physically fit, but in terms of getting in the rhythm of the football game, he's still lacking. And that was kind of masked in the last 2 games because we played pretty well and he's been covered by his teammates. But I'm hoping that as the games roll on, he gets more involved in the gameplay and looks like the solid Linus that we miss and love. Seri, I thought was quite poor. A lot of poor first touches, a lot of clunky passes, killing attacks, and he was really off form the other day. And I think that he was probably the weakest link in Galatasaray's midfield. If we just take a step back, though, I mean, you mentioned before that now Gala are 5 points behind Sivas from 10 points at the start of January, which is already a huge jump. But if you look back at some of the games at the start of the season where we just switched off from the 85th minute, 90th minute around the end of the game and just gave away points to Ankaragücü, to Konyaspor, to Malatyaspor, that's 3 games that we were winning. From winning positions, ended up losing points. So that's 6 points that could have taken us, to the top of the league had we been in a bit more of a sharp, concentrated mindset. So hopefully now that we've got the momentum of the 4 wins and a little bit more of the hunger and seriousness, of realizing the seriousness of the issue here, hopefully we can stop messing around in the last minute of games to try to kill games off earlier on within the 90 minutes, and that's kind of what I'm seeing in the first 4 games, and I hope that continues. Just one more thing as well. I know Umut's going to kill me if I don't mention it. There should have been a yellow card on Pedro Henrique for his tackle on Benny Handa, and the referee don't think he even gave a foul to that. He really stamped on his toe, on his on the top of his foot, and it was quite a nasty tackle. It should have been given at the very least yellow. And
yeah.
I think that was a huge omission from the referee. But otherwise, I don't like talking about the referee much anyway. But I think that it was pretty much an open and shut case for Jim Bom. I was expecting an emphatic win, and that's what we got.
Yeah, I think Galatasaray were going to win this either way. But there is one thing I do want to point out, though, that penalty position with Pedro Henrique and Ryan Donk. How is that not a penalty?
The little nudge, the push.
Little nudge. I mean, Umut was really wanting to, usually Umut's pretty straightforward with the kind of stuff, and he was like, "No, that's for." I don't think he thought it was a penalty. What was your feeling for that?
I didn't think it was a penalty either. I just thought it was a good old manly shove. Yeah.
Nah, come on.
That's what you like to see. Yeah, you like to see it. Yeah,
if it's you could make the case if it's shoulder against shoulder, okay, but that's clearly not the case here. He has no intention of playing the ball. He just barges into him. Just the only intent he has is to just shove him off his feet. How is that not a penalty? In what universe?
Football is a contact sport, and
no. Yes, it's a contact sport when you're both fending for the ball, but that's not the case here. Come on, man of the law, Burak Sezgin. Burak Yilmaz scored. He's on my.
I think you did that last week as well, by the way.
You've been doing it. Someone's actually tweeted us about the fact that you keep calling me Burak Yilmaz.
Oh, really?
So thank you to that listener for calling out Khan on his mistake. But that was a Stonewall penalty. I mean, a Donk just barges into him. It's not. Football is a contact sport. Yes, as Khan pointed out, if you're running shoulder to shoulder, you're trying to push each other, lean into each other. But Donk just runs up to him and barges into him from back.
Yeah, you can even see from the different angle how he takes a step to the right just to have more momentum to then BAM! Smash into him. It's like, what? It's like a freight train hitting him. That's ridiculous.
It is, but I may add that it was against Kayserispor, and we all know how I feel about them. So hopefully they get
fair game.
Hopefully they get no more penalties. I think it's safe to say they're getting relegated. They're on 11 points and they're just absolutely awful. So I hope they enjoy obscurity for the next few seasons. Don't let the door kick your ass on the way out.
And I really don't understand how they found themselves in this position, by the way, because they're in serious financial issues, and I just can't really understand how that's come about. Because they've always seemed to be very... that's Kayseri,
It's that Bruno Fernandes transfer. 3.5 million euros.
Oh, you mean Bernard Mensah?
Oh, Bernard Mensah, sorry, not Bruno Fernandes.
Bruno Fernandes for 3.5 million euros. I wouldn't say no to that. Anyway, let's head over to the final match on match day 20 on Monday. Just finished a couple of hours ago. Denizlispor took on Göztepe, and Burak is going to tell us a story about this match.
Yes. This was an entertaining game of football to end the match day week. Denizli got off to a horrible start. There was a big defensive error by Yusuf, who just kind of switched off for a second, which was enough for Soner Aydordu to nick the ball and give it to Serdar Gürler, who produced a very good finish to make it 1-0 to Göztepe, who we know are coming off a victory from last week in their new stadium. So obviously spirits are high, but you've got to give real good credit to Denizlispor, because the moment they went down 1-0, they launched almost a siege on the Göztepe goal. Beto being forced into some really good saves during this game. I think the best save was one he made at pretty much point blank range in the second half, as Denizlispor were piling on the pressure. I think Denizlispor hit the post as well in the first half. They're just moving the ball quickly. Göztepe defending for dear life. But you've got to say the Denizlispor goalkeeper, what was his name? I always forget. So Stakoyak. I think I've absolutely butchered the pronunciation. But he made a great double save as Göztepe were 1-0 up from our man of the moment, Cameron Jerome. So the Cameron Jerome effect came into play again as Stakoyak saved his shot, and then he saved the follow-up as well, which is a really important double save to keep Denizlispor in the game. Rodallega had a really good effort at one point, and I say really good in terms to the athleticism, where it came up onto his chest and he just kind of kicked it over his head, not knowing where it was going. So just a really good piece of athleticism from Hugo there, but it was a comfortable save for Beto to make in the Göztepe goal. And then you have the Denizli goal right, towards the end of the game in the 86th minute. You've got Denizli a throw-on goal, and I think it's Rodallega who has a shot that is saved by Beto, but the rebound is put in by Oscar. And I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his surname as well, because there's lots of accents on the end.
Estupinian.
Yes, that's the one. I'll let you say that. There's far too many accents in the surname for me to be able to pronounce it correctly. But goal was initially ruled out for offside, but a referee went to VAR, and the correct decision was given because Estupinian was actually behind Rodallega as he shot. And as it rebounded off Beto, Estupinian, I'm just going to keep saying that name now, slotted the ball in to give Denizli a very well-deserved point. So I think they played really well. Not too much happened from Barrow, so I was maybe expecting a little bit more from him, just because it's a home game, and he's a player who's been playing well this season, so I was expecting maybe a little bit more from him with regards to trickery and running. So maybe it's just a little bit of an off night that he had. But real good credit to Denizli for showing some real good character after going down so early in the match. As for Göztepe, I think it's a case of coming back down to earth after a really good opening game in their home stadium. But, they are still 8th in the league, so they are, in contention for a potential European spot, because they are only 6 points, I think, off getting into the top 4 as well. So there's still a lot to play for them. But no, I was really impressed by the way Denizli showed good character to come back into the game. Rodallega again showing that he is still very worthy of his starting position. I just think that he just lacked a little bit of service tonight, unfortunately. But ultimately, it was his shot that led to the goal. But you could argue that he should have actually finished it in the first place and not had the ball be saved by Beto and then be finished by that man, Oscar Estupinian. So I think Denizli, I think they're going to be safe this season. They're playing some good football at home as well. I would be interested to see their next couple of fixtures. I think they're playing Kayserispor next. No, they've got Kayserispor on Valentine's Day, and then they're away to Konyaspor next week. So they could end up with back-to-back wins in the next 2 weeks, just because Konya, no, I don't know, they're still a bit up and down with how they perform game to game. It doesn't matter if they're home or away.
Yeah.
So I think if Denizli really knuckle down and really prepare for the Konya game, I think they're going to walk all over Kayseri, to be honest with you, just because the Kayseri are just so bad and they're not going to travel very well. But away to Konya, I think there's a good chance that Denizli could pick up 3 points there, especially if Barrow and Rodallega get some understanding going. And of course, you have good old Recep Niaz there as well, who, if he turns it on and decides he wants to play football, then you can always get an assist or a goal out of him as well. So, a really good game to finish this game week, and a well-deserved point for Denizlispor.
Yeah, let's head over into the standings. As we had said before, Sivasspor, of course, losing on match day 20. They remain top of the table with 41 points. In second place after their win this weekend is Istanbul Basaksehir with 39 points. So within striking distance of Sivasspor right now, heading into their confrontation next week. So if Basaksehir manage to pull off a win against Sivasspor, they will overtake the league leaders. Of course, Trabzonspor, who are in third place, still have a match in hand. They are now on 38 points, but if they win that match against Malatya that they still have to play, they will be on level points with Sivasspor. So Trabzonspor, with that win against Fenerbahçe, could have set themselves up to be at least co-leaders if they win that makeup match. Then we have 1 point less with Fenerbahçe, who are we have Alanyaspor, who are actually still in there, which kind of surprises me because they've kind of been going under the radar, but they're still on 38 points as well with their win this weekend. Fenerbahçe then in 5th place with 37 points, Galatasaray in 6th place with 36 points, Besiktas in 7th with 33, and Göztepe in 8th with 30 points. So I think the top 8 are probably going to decide who goes to Europe. They're going to divide those European tickets, it looks like. But, Gaziantep Football Club on 27 points in 9th place. If that Alexandru Maxim continues to score as he is doing right now, you never know. And they are playing Besiktas next week, so who knows? Maybe Gaziantep will join the 30 club soon.
And just so you know, Alexander Maxim has come on loan from Mainz in the Bundesliga.
Right. Yeah, Mainz indeed. Yeah. Good. Anyway, then in 10th position we have Yeni Malatyaspor, who are kind of on that slippery slope. As we said, they have 24 points, not in any immediate danger just yet, but given their current form trajectory, they may have to start paying some attention if Kasim Pasha or Ankaragücü start picking up some more wins, and especially with Antalyaspor, who will probably start picking up some more points. So Malatyaspor may have not done too well with letting go of Adis Yahovic, and Guilherme, I guess, was kind of beyond their control, but still. Then we have Rizespor, of course, they lost on the weekend. They remain on 24 points, sorry. Denizlispor then on 23 points. Gençlerbirliği on 21 points. They were in the relegation zone not too long ago, so they're doing really well. Then we have Konyaspor, who are on 19 points, yes. They have to start looking out a little bit, because just above the relegation zone is Antalyaspor with 18 points, and then we have the bottom three with Kasımpaşa, Ankaragücü, and of course Kayserispor. Kasımpaşa are on 16 points, and we have Ankaragücü on 14 points. So Konyaspor just 5 points above Ankaragücü, just 3 points above Kasımpaşa. So they need to be careful with what they do in the upcoming weeks, or they may start feeling the heat. Kayserispor, of course, on the bottom spot with 11 points, so things aren't looking too good for them. Jakub, can you go over the match day, the fixtures for match day 21, please?
Yes, on Friday, Yeni Malatyaspor at home against Ankaragücü. Saturday, you have 4 games. Konyaspor against Denizlispor. Besiktas at home against Gaziantep Football Club. Gençlerbirliği against Trabzonspor. And the last game of the day, Fenerbahçe against Alanyaspor. Sunday, you again have 3 games. Kayserispor, Antalyaspor, the game for the relegation zone. Sivasspor at home, playing against Istanbul Basaksehir Football Club, probably the best game of next week. Then you have Kasımpaşa, Galatasaray to end the day. I have to say it's weird, because Sivasspor İBB is at 2 and Kasımpaşa, Galatasaray is at 5. Why isn't the Sivas game later in the day? And closing off, on Monday, you have Göztepe against Çaykur Rizespor.
It's very easy ratings. More people are going to watch that Galatasaray match. It's simple as that.
Okay.
Anyway, that will do it for our review of Match Day 21, the Super League result. Look out for our little transfer recap. I think we're going to try and keep that short. I know we always say that, but I'll probably be doing that with Umut. We'll just be quickly looking over the most... the most important signings for all 18 of the Super League clubs and the most important departures. Just a quick recap on the January 2020 transfer window. And then there's another thing I am kind of toying with, but I'll leave that for... We'll have to wait and see. We may add something to our repertoire in the near future, but that's still, in the cooker. Anyway, Burak, thank you very much. Jakub, thank you very much. Özer, thank you very much. And thank you very much for listening to Football a la Turca. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think of the show. We welcome any interaction. Go to @FootyAlaTurca.
Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully next week will be void of controversy and we can just talk about some really good football and the further demise of Kayserispor.